That's right, officially poetic. I am joined by a man with many talents. If I had to read down all of the things this man does now, we'd have to wrap up this episode of Watagwan right now, because this man is a visionary, a creator, and the president of everything nice. We have the one and only AMUSHENJE in the building.
What's up?
Hi, darling. How are you?
Very well, and yourself?
I am fantastic. It's been a minute since we've seen you.
Yeah, I think 2020 last.
2020 last.
Yeah, I went back into the Batcave.
You know?
Yeah.
Are you back now?
I'm out now.
Batmobile on. Yeah, love it. Since the last time we seen you, what have you been up to? You've been in the kitchen and you're ready to give us something nice.
Yeah. I mean, since 2020, I think 21, the end of 21, I just went to the farm and I lived on the farm for the year.
Okay.
And that was the time I was actually busy working on the project. So 2022, 2023, I came back. And just been working on sort of getting it out now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Now, in terms of working on the work, you had to isolate yourself a little bit to get the words out of the mind onto the paper, onto the beats.
Yeah.
How was that process like for you?
It was an interesting one. I think it's definitely one that I always wanted to experience. Of course, there were also circumstances around my life that sort of brought that around. But I welcomed it and I really enjoyed the process because I was really focused. And I think it's important, especially for a process like the one I was going through and the kind of music that I made. I think it's a testament, to the power of being in isolation.
Exactly.
Yeah, and focused also.
Of course.
Yeah.
Speaking of that focus and everything, you have a very interesting creative process. I don't think a lot of people share their creative processes, but if you had to talk us through how creating this body of work was like for you, what space did you have to put yourself in mentally? What space did you have to get yourself in to create these beautiful lyrics that we know you for?
Some things were just not in my control, and I'm also at peace with that. But usually it starts with just setting an intention, and it's really saying that, okay, I'm going to do this thing, and however that comes about, I think there's certain maybe spaces that I can create, certain mindsets that I can put myself in, but it usually just starts with intention, and then making small concentrated efforts towards pushing the thing forward, and paying attention to the journey and not so much the destination. I know what the destination is,
Of course.
but it's really getting up and committing to the process every time.
Every single time. And
Every
up
time.
that place as
Yep,
well.
yep.
Beautiful.
And not being distracted. I think that's the one thing,
Especially-
making sure that just distractions are limited.
Nah.
Yeah.
Now, you just dropped your new body of work a week ago.
Yeah.
And the streets are going crazy.
Yeah.
Instagram captions are up. All of a sudden.
Yeah.
So before you dropped the project, you gave us Fortress of Solitude with
Yeah.
Da Vinci. How did that collaboration come together? Because I'm calling you guys the new dynamic duo.
Yeah.
You guys are sourcing it up out here. How did that collaboration?
Yeah, man. Davichi's my guy, man. And we've known each other, I think, since... Well, I think he knew of me before I knew him. But then when we met, I think we met shortly around the time that William and I were doing Beat Auction.
Okay.
So we had him actually on the roster on one of the events. And then from there we started talking, and it was kind of like orbiting in the same space. But then I think it was last year where we really started connecting. Actually, 2 years ago, where we started connecting a lot more and just sharing songs. It's like, look, I've got this skeleton here. Let me send it to you. See what you got, and then you'd send me.
From there.
Exactly. The collaboration for the Fortress of Solitude came actually quite late in the project,
Okay.
where I felt like, again, like how our creative process usually goes. I would say, hey, Vici, man, this thing is a bit empty, bro. What can you do? So I sent him the song and he just went off on it, and I kind of set parameters for him because I wanted it to be a soundscape, and I didn't want it to have any drums or anything like that necessarily, which is what we're known for,
Exactly.
having drums and things like that. And that was also the test with a lot of the music on this project entirely, actually, was not using, like, making music without drums. What can I do with just synthesizers or vocals or whatever, right, and make it impactful? So we actually, Vici and I are actually part of like a collective, right, SLF. So we're in the studio all the time together and just catching vibes. So at the time when I told him get on the track, it was just a natural process for him to fall in there because the rapport was built, and our collaborative relationship had been fortified by that time. So it just felt natural. He knew, based on what I'm telling him, he understood it. He understood the brief and he just laid it out.
History. The chemistry was chemistrying over there.
Exactly.
Love to hear.
Very easy.
Now, with this project, hey, how many tracks are we looking at on this body of work?
So it's 10 tracks. There were a lot more, and during the process,
You're cutting out.
I'm cutting out, I'm adding, you know. I think we went through 5 different versions of what this project would sound like.
Okay.
But it got to a point where I was like, "Ugh, I don't want to overthink this thing too much now, because if I had continued tinkering on with it, it would probably not have come out this year still.
Exactly.
So for me, it was just like, okay, look, let me let it go. And then whatever else I make would be better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
And not hold on to things. I don't want to hold on to it.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Now the title that you used for this album is something different. As Namibians, we've never heard these kinds of words here before. We don't know what they mean. We don't know how to use them in a sentence. So similitude. Talk to us.
Similitude.
Talk to us about
Similitude. Yeah, similitude is something. It's a word also that I'm trying to understand as well. But to put it simply, similitude basically means the comparison of two things.
Okay.
So at the time I was making this project, there was a lot of loss and there was a lot of gain. This exchange that was coming in and out of my life. So for me, I understood it as that, and that everything that was happening to me and for me it could have only been, it is only to the benefit of my life in this experience and the life hereafter. And similitude was actually also a word that is used a lot in the Quran. I also, during this time, I become Muslim.
Okay.
So this word similitude was being used a lot in the Quran as I was reading it. And for me, it just made so much sense because of the transformative period that was when I was making this song, this album.
Alrighty. Now, in terms of the experience that you want people to walk away with after experiencing this album, what kind of vibes are you expecting for people to walk away with?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, this music it's not for the club, right? And no disrespect to the club scene, but I've always wanted people to have a different kind of experience with my music and not necessarily party. But I think I would want someone listening to my music, actually a recommended listening experience is to switch off all the lights, lie down on a bed, earphones, and just be in complete darkness and listen to that project from back to front.
Okay.
I feel like an output, how you'd feel listening to that project towards the end of it would be just a deep breath. Because I feel like that journey that you go into, I think that music can be quite
different for people.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of experience that I want to have, that I would want people to have. I think it's that kind of music that you can really contemplate things on,
You can ponder and put sort of like emotion, what kind of feeling it invokes out of you.
Yeah, you could kind of say also like it's a therapy session, because I think people kind of feel lighter.
Okay.
I think at least that's what I felt making the music. I felt much lighter, and also like, yeah, man, very excited about life as well. You know. Certain aspects.
Now, in terms of having the excitement for life, what is in store for Martin AMUSHENJE for the rest of 2024? Are we going to be getting some more visuals? Are we going to be seeing you on the stage performing with Da Vinci? What is for the rest of the year?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really call myself much of a performer other than like certain DJ sets that I would do. But definitely, I want the music just to transcend audio, the audio space. I definitely do want to collaborate with musicians to actually, like, I guess, well, with musicians firstly, with dancers, how can music kind of, how can I draw a connection between music and other forms of art? Right? So I would wanna collaborate in that way.
Bringing the similitude back into focus.
You know, just that bridging the gap between creative art forms.
Yeah. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you about this beautiful body of work. I can't wait to get into the darkness tonight myself and just unwind and get into it and feel the kind of emotion that you're talking about, because I think that is something so beautiful about the music that you make.
Yeah.
You wanted to have an impact on people. You want, for when people talk about how did you feel when you experienced the song, for them to have something that is actually genuine and ties into that human experience. So thank you for sharing that with us this evening.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
But of course, do make sure you stream, download. Similitude is out on all streaming platforms. Do check it out. Spotify, Apple, everywhere that you need to get it. It's over there. Make sure you get into the vibes. Speaking of the vibes, let's get back into some more music, some more videos. We'll be catching you guys after these and so much more. Keep it locked right here to your NBC channels.